Sonya from Waves Mindfulness here, and this video is going to have a look at self-compassion. So self-compassion is made up of three elements: self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. So we choose to show ourselves self-kindness over judgment. A lot of the time our thoughts are negative and judgmental. We like to pick on ourselves, on our perceived flaws and failures. And if we were to tell our friends about those, they would be really quick to shoot them down, and vice versa. If a friend came up to us and said, I'm not good at this, I can't do that, we're really quick to help them out and boost them and motivate them. We're less likely to do that with ourselves. So we tend to have a lot of judgmental thoughts. We tend to beat ourselves up and not show ourselves kindness. The second element was common humanity. Often we feel like we're the only person in this world that fails at this or looks like this. It can lead to isolation. We become this little bubble. And with common humanity, we understand that everybody feels like this at some point, or everybody feels like they failed. And it's often that when we expose maybe a little failure to a friend, that they can identify with it and say, oh my gosh, yeah, me too, I really struggle with that. And that kind of takes away some of the burden, some of the pressure on that failure. So remembering that you're human and you're fallible, and that we all suffer and that we all fail at things is part of being a human, and everybody out there experiences it, goes some way to making you feel a little bit better. The third element is mindfulness. Self-compassion and mindfulness go hand in hand. Mindfulness practice will make you naturally more self-compassionate. This is because you become more aware of your thoughts and your emotions, which is the first step towards anything. And also you become less judgmental, or you learn to accept that this is how I feel in the moment. So mindfulness practice, this practice of staying in the present moment, being aware of our thoughts, accepting what is here and moving on, really helps us be compassionate with ourselves. We're not always aware of this negative chit chat. So one thing we can do is a little practice, a little exercise to help you be aware of every time you start to talk to yourself negatively. Put an elastic band on your wrist, and throughout the day, every time you notice you've said something negative about yourself, take the band off and swap it over to the other wrist. And just do this every time you've noticed you've said something negative. When you do it, you're not challenging yourself, arguing yourself, beating yourself up about it. You simply quietly just perform the task of swapping it to another wrist. What you'll start to notice is over the week, the swapping becomes less and less. By simply being aware, you will stop doing it, prevent it, and lessen that negative chit chat. Another way we can really highlight the impact of negative self-talk is to list our flaws. Write down 10 flaws. I'm sure we can all think of 10 flaws at the top of our head, things we don't like about ourselves, or perceived failures about ourselves towards relationships, work, our appearance, whatever it might be. And I want you then to project that onto somebody else so you can get a sense of the damage that you're causing yourself. Once you've got that list together, I want you to imagine that you're saying that to a loved one, an 8-year-old child. It might be your own child, a cousin, a niece or nephew. Close your eyes and visualize them. They could be playing, having fun, being carefree, and I want you to stop them. And then I want you to say all of those horrible things that you say to yourself to them. It's really, really difficult, and many people simply can't get those words out. Looking at an 8-year-old child and saying, you're stupid, you can't do this, everybody's better at this than you, you're ugly, you're lazy. Even me saying it right now makes me feel nervous and makes my chest tighten up. But that's what I want you to do. I want you to not only notice how difficult it is to say that to the child, how much you don't want to say it, but also notice the physical reaction to it. Every negative thought we have leads to a negative emotion, which leads to a negative physical sensation. So say you're struggling at work and you can't get your head around a certain project and you're constantly beating yourself up about it. By the end of the day, you're going to feel stress physically, tension, headache, low mood. It all has an impact on our body. When we offer kindness to other people, the reason why we're so good at it is because it gives us endorphins. But the same thing can happen when we turn that on ourselves. When we offer ourselves kindness, we get a rush from it. We get endorphins. We feel happy. We feel content. So although that practice is really difficult, it's really important to understand that this is the impact that we're having. A lot of us at the moment might be feeling quite isolated. This is the pandemic. The big buzzword at the moment is isolation, but it's a real thing and affects our mental health. Many of us are away from loved ones, partners, mums, dads, and these are the people that we kind of reach out to get our support and love and compassion from. And when we can't get that, it can really affect our mental health. So by being self-compassionate and learning to soothe ourselves the way that someone else can really goes a long way to strengthen your mental health. Now, one of the kind of physiological factors about a friend or a loved one showing you compassion is that touch, sense of touch. More so now than ever, we are craving a hug from our best friend. We want to hold the hand of our partner. We want to get that back rub, that big squeeze, and we can really, really feel that loss. And it's a genuine thing. When we have that connection, that love, what we get is oxytocin. And oxytocin then calms us, makes us feel reassured, it soothes us, and we feel settled and calm. Without it, we become more anxious and more stressed. That's the reason why when we have children, the baby's put onto mum, builds a connection, it starts the breast milk and the feeding, with the baby, and it's a beautiful it's a love hormone, and we need that in our lives. At the moment, we might not be able to get it, but just as showing kindness can give us positive endorphins, showing kindness to ourselves can do that. Compassionate self-touch with ourselves can do that. So it's going to feel weird, especially to us Brits who are a bit stiff, but by soothing ourselves with compassionate touch and adding some compassionate words to it, we can start to calm ourselves. Our bodies, our minds are constantly in this thing called threat and drive. We're always looking at perceived threats, so building anxiety and then acting off those threats, the drive element. But there's also a third element which we just don't nurture enough, which is the soothe element. So we can get ourselves in a tiz with threat and drive and anxious and stress and let that kind of bound around in our minds. But we can also then implement a sense of soothing to calm us and bring us down. And we simply just don't do it enough. We always look for other people to soothe us when we have the capabilities to do that ourselves. So another practice is compassionate touch, and it's really, really simple if you want to do it and release that oxytocin. It could be taking a moment, stepping away from the busyness and simply giving yourself a hug and a rub. It could be putting your hand on your chest, so skin to skin contact, hand to heart, and really focusing in on that connection, the warmth of your hand, your heartbeat, and cupping your face maybe, holding yourself much like a loved one would do, and focusing on that, noticing the touch, the points of pressure, the softness, the smoothness, the warmth. And alongside that, you're going to use compassionate words. And we take words from metta, meditation of love and kindness. So we'll say to ourselves, everything is okay, I'm here, everything's fine. Much like we'd like our parents to tell us, or our partners to tell us, or our best friends to tell us. Those words are magical. That touch is magical, but we have that within ourselves. It's all part of showing ourselves care and compassion. And when we build a better relationship with ourselves, when we are more compassionate with ourselves, we can then connect with other people more deeply. We can show true empathy and compassion to others because we understand it better within ourselves. So try those two practices of being aware of your negative self-talk by noting it with the swapping of the elastic band. Notice the impact of what those words mean, that we should not let ourselves get away with talking to ourselves in such a negative way, and show yourself some compassion with a compassionate touch and soothing words to calm you, to de-stress you, and to build a better nurturing relationship with yourself. The final thing I want you to do today is to write yourself a letter of compassion. I want you to address those negative thoughts and heal yourselves by writing a response. Much the same way if a friend was going through a difficult time, you would write them a compassionate, empathetic letter. I want you to do that today. Write to yourself and read it back and show yourself some love and kindness.